Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and our Kings. We're here with Paul Smith. Paul, it's been a good couple of weeks. The Reds have won the league. A lot of other teams we hate haven't. So, how's things anyway?
Not bad, mate. You okay?
Yeah, can't complain. Can't complain. A few things I want to talk about. There's a busy weekend of boxing on. Before we get to that, last weekend, obviously, we see in Scotland, we saw Moses Itauma, an incredible performance from him. I want to start there because I've seen a lot of talk sport recently. I've seen a lot of you on it, and a lot of people's opinions. Every time I turn on, I spoke to Frank Warren earlier. He's linked with every single fighter from top to bottom straight away in either fantasy matchups. And is it right now? Are we in that sort of period where it's a bit like, when do you know when to let him off the leash? Because he's still very young, and it's all well and good doing it now, but he still needs to be managed properly, don't he? Moving through the levels.
Yeah, he needs to be managed properly. He needs to be guided properly. He needs to be trained properly. He needs to be brought on in the gym properly, the correct way. It's going to be a big joint effort with him. I heard Frank on Talksport and the interview we were doing with him mention that Francis manages him, so
Hmm.
therefore, obviously, Frank will have a lot of input in that as well, in guiding his career the right way. Obviously, Francis will trust Frank implicitly being father and son. Frank's really good at building fighters and getting them to the top. He's obviously got a proven track record with that, so I don't see there be any problem with that side of things. He's got to be managed right in the gym. He's got to be brought along at the right pace. It's a problem with him because obviously he's good enough to jump in with some of the top names out there in the heavyweight division, some of the top 20 in the world, and it's a big top 20 as well. Even in Britain, the top 20 in heavyweight is great in Britain, top 10 especially. But where do you put him in? Because obviously once he starts, he's got to have 12 rounds in him. He's got to be able to do 12 rounds at a good pace,
Hmm.
and obviously he needs that durability, that fitness, that toughness that you need. But he's some talent, and he's looking really good at the moment. And some of the names that are being mentioned for him, at the very top level, I'd like to see him have a few, down at domestic level, obviously where he is at the moment. And I can't see him staying there long, but at the moment he is still technically there.
I was going to say, because when I look at the names, he's linked with a Bacoli. It's only a fight and a half ago. Everyone was saying Bacoli's the bogeyman. He's come back obviously on short notice, got beaten by Parker, didn't look in the best physical shape, which everyone spoke about. But already it's like, oh no, stick him in with Bacoli, and we're forgetting that
Yeah.
Martin Bacoli is still a fantastic fighter. Where are you with that, and how far is that jump? Because that jump, you mentioned domestic levels there. We've got Wardley and Huni this weekend, and we're talking about maybe who doesn't come out on top fighting a Moses Atama. Is that the kind of fight? Is it your Fraser Clark's? Where is that sort of balance between that experience but making sure it's someone who's going to have a go?
Fraser Clark's a good name. I had a horrible feeling that they might have thrown Dave Allen in with him after how well Dave Allen's done recently, and it's not fair for Dave Allen for that, and I don't think it'd be fair to Moses Atomo for making that happen. But we've seen that happen before many a time in boxing. Dave Allen's fought obviously Dylan White and a couple of others. It always tends to work out that way, and you see people losing at the top level when you know they're older or they're done, and all of a sudden they'll be offered to fight one of the top prospects coming through, and it's just not good for the older fighter who's there. Um, I think Fraser Clark is a good name. Fabio Wardley would be a good name, but I think Fabio Wardley would take that as a bit of an insult because of how
Yes.
well he's doing at the moment, and rightly so. Although ability wise, you'd have to say that was a really closely matched fight because of the talent of Atoma. I really rate him. I really think he's destined for the top. The fact that we were talking possibly that he may break Mike Tyson's record says it all.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal what he's doing for the age he's at, and he's still technically, no disrespect to him whatsoever. As I said, I'm a big fan of his. And, he's technically still a baby especially in heavyweight boxing. And to talk about any fighter winning world titles at his age is frightening. But to do it in the heavyweight division, which he's wiping everyone out. I was up in Scotland for the fight. I didn't actually catch his fight live, but I watched the replays back of the knockout, the little laid back left hook, I think it was, or right hook, sorry,
Yeah.
and just a quality punch, um, which proves obviously he can hit devastatingly hard as well as the ability that he has.
I was saying to Frank Warren, it weren't even the power; it was the timing of both shots. The guy's coming full
Yeah,
steam
the
ahead
kid
to actually have a go, and
the kid
then
put the power in it for him. I agree. The
yeah,
kid the kid's throwing the shot, and he's put the power in for him, and it was just a lovely sort of. half counter hook, half like just I hate that saying that check hook, but it was just
You're
a
not a
nice little
fan.
hook. No, 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 no.
Little check.
Don't get me started. Don't get me
Little,
started.
little pull
It was
counter.
just a it was just a quality shot by him, and he's obviously he's still in first gear. He's still
Yep.
just trying out some of the things he'll be doing in the gym on a regular basis. And I tell you, I'd love to be in that gym to watch the work that he does and the sparring that he does, because you'll see him doing things where he's gonna lose a couple of rounds here and there to hone his craft, so to speak, and to get better. That's where you make mistakes in the gym, because he certainly isn't making any on fight nights.
Definitely. Just a couple more before we talk about the fights this weekend. I've not got your opinion on Manny Pacquiao returning. I heard about this months and months ago.
I'm disgusted over it, to be honest with you. I'll save you the time asking. I just
Really,
think it's a joke. I put a little tweet up the other day about I'm just pissed off for all these old fighters. I don't know why, and it's not like there's not a bit of bone in me. I'm not. It's not I'm being bitter. It's like you were done 10 years ago. What makes you think now you're going to be better all of a sudden? And it's like you're overstaying your welcome, and you're tempting fate every time you're in the ring against these younger fighters. And okay, you're trying to cherry pick some fighter who's not going to be as good as you think he is, but you're old and you're past it, and you've been out for a long time. This is the wrong game to do that in,
Mhm.
and it frustrates me so much seeing him. I keep seeing Vladimir Klitschko talking about coming back.
Yeah,
Come on, okay, you're keeping yourself in good nick. My dad's in good nick. He's 64 years of age. He couldn't get in the boxing ring and fight. You
no,
know what I mean? There's a difference between in good shape and staying fit and lean and eating well and eating healthy and looking after your body and using whatever supplements or help you might be using. But if this is professional boxing and it's a young man's game,
does it come that point of view? Does it come through more of a health and concern of the man rather than a because obviously what he's achieved in the game is come back. Is that what it is?
100%,
Yeah.
100%, that's all it is. It's that added to the fact that if you're a fighter who didn't make millions and you need a few bob and there's an opportunity for you to come back and it's still viable and it's still good for you, then I've got no problem with it as such. You have to do it. We have to make money, and if that's the only way that 99% of fighters know how to do that, then I
Hmm.
can't criticize, and I couldn't. I'm not in the position to criticize them. It's when you've made millions and they've come out of the game well off, and they've secured the kids and the grandkids' lives, and they've won every title known to man, and they're still doing it, and it's out of ego. And when it's out of ego, that's what grates on me a little bit. That's what gets to me a little bit. It's not even like they're talking about doing an exhibition match like Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, which I was fine with. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, not so much, because I didn't want to see Mike Tyson boxing as a legitimate professional. But if it was classed as an exhibition, I'd have been all day for it. It's an
Yeah.
exhibition. Got no problem with them as such. But when they're coming back and they're fighting proper and they're fighting against younger, hungry champions who can still fight and they're risking their health, and then it just doesn't sit right with me personally.
Mm.
Because I know how I feel at 42. It doesn't matter whether I was training every day since I retired or whether I was sat on my ass every day since I retired. I know how I feel as a 42-year-old man. I can't stand up without my knees clicking or my elbows clicking. I need surgery on my shoulder. My hands are killing me all the time. It's just you start falling apart once you. Now listen, I had a pro career, but I had not a career like them. They went to the well in world title fights, in world title training camps, and sparring world class fighters all the time, constantly paying for the best all the time. Now, what's their bodies been through? And it's weird to think, like, I'm 46, I still feel like I've got some stuff in the basement to come back again. That's where, like, it just doesn't sit right with me. And that's the whole sort of all that together. That's what makes me
Yeah.
I'm not, it's not my cup of tea.
Let's move on. Someone who you do have the inside knowledge on, Callum talks about a fight with Anthony Yarde, Benavidez. Personally, I think both fights are great. Benavidez, great fighter, and I think them two is is a fantastic fight. Have you, as a brother, obviously, I think Callum sort of. I always look at Callum and think, you know what, you're in the books. You're in the viral time. Now it's about what else can you add to that legacy? Obviously, everyone wants to earn a few quid. If you've got a preference, it's a big domestic clash against Anthony Yarde. Benavidez, I think, is a terrific fighter. He's on the up as well at the minute. What have you got a preference?
I was with Callum this morning in the gym, and I left the gym. I'm training fighters now. I train young Liv Holmes, who's an amateur, just training professional. I'm managing her as well. I manage a few, obviously, but I'm training Jack Power, 5-0. I was walking with Jack, talking. He said, I don't have like the Benavidez fight for Callum. What about you? But that's me as a fan. I was like, well, look, me, I probably got my manager's hat on. I think, well, why not go and beat Anthony Yard, get a bit more momentum, and then go into the fight with Benavidez maybe upgraded to full champion by then, because by the time that happens, Bivol and Batavia will have fought the third fight. I
Yeah,
said, but that's probably me just looking at it as a management perspective and knowing Callum the way I do. Obviously, my brother, I know nothing's done and nothing's finalised, nothing's even relatively close to being finalised yet. But why not just have another fight, gain a bit more momentum, beat Anthony Yarde, which I feel he'll do well. And again, that's no disrespect to him. That's just my opinion on that. And then go in with Benavidez with a title rather than going in as a challenger against them. But again, it might not work out that way. That's just my way of thinking. But obviously, it depends on Callum, whatever he wants. He's his own manager. He's self-managed. He looks after his own career. He's got people who he'll tell to go and make the negotiations and the decisions, and he'll give us what he wants, and then that will happen. So it's whatever Callum wants, and whatever he does, obviously we'll be backing him 100%, but I'll be confident in him in both fights.
either way, two big fights, whichever one comes to fruition. Last thing, right? Two fight nights this week. Callum Simpson, there's someone abroad as well, Keyshawn Davis, etc. But let's talk about just domestic. Fabio Wardley fighting for a Europe. Callum Simpson fighting for a European title in
Yeah.
Barnsley. Sold a lot of tickets again. Ivan Zuko coming over. It's a good opportunity. You're going to open a lot of doors for him. What have you made of Callum Simpson so far in his career, from what you've seen?
He hasn't really put a foot wrong from what I've seen, and seems a nice lad. Every time I've met him and seen him at the shows, he's a nice, respectful lad. He's getting a good little following as well, isn't he? Not little, he's getting a good big following up in
Big.
Barnsley, and the fact that he's fighting there obviously says it all. That he must be shifting some tickets, and I wish him all the best. He's got a great platform on Sky Sports. And I don't think he'll understand how good that is for him at the moment until maybe if it stops, or if it, when he finishes later on. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
had Sky Sports from early on in his career, and he's it's helped him a lot, and rightly so. It's a great platform. Um, I haven't seen much of the opponents. I'm up there in Barnsley myself. I'm helping my brother's fighter. My brother manages Frankie Stinger. He's my friend as well, obviously. I'm helping him out in the corner because they've got two different lads on in different places. Pierce down in Ipswich, as you said on that show. Pierce O'Leary
Yeah.
and Frankie Stinger on that one. So I'm going to be up there in Barnsley. I'm looking forward to it. I hope it's a really good show.
Pierce O'Leary was a European title shot. Now I've seen Pierce from when I first started. I think behind closed doors at the time. Absolutely, like one of the most spiteful finishers
Yeah.
that I've ever seen
Yeah,
live.
he's a good kid. I've seen it. I've seen him a couple of times in the gym when I've been in there watching him train. He's relentless. He's non-stop, and he's talented as well. I really like him. He's a dead nice lad as well. So I'm wishing him all the best on Saturday as well.
Fabio Wardley, Justis Huni, just quickly. I think it's obviously bigger profile was Jarrell Miller. Obviously, everyone knows him. We've seen the fights. He's in
Yeah,
a lot of talks, a lot more. But the background of Huni comes from that amateur stock kind of thing. And I
yeah.
think he's not one to be slept on. Is this a potential banana skin for Wardley if he's not bang at it?
It is. Listen, we saw yesterday it was the anniversary of Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua at
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. My brother Callum was on there, so we were there and watched it. I remember the surprise, and not too much of a shock on the night, but it was a bit of a surprise because anyone who'd seen Andy Ruiz before knew he was good, knew he was very capable, knew he was a very tidy boxer fighter, could throw good shot selection, good punches, and had a decent little bit of power on him as well, which obviously proved on the night. This could be, as you say, a huge banana skin. Obviously, they fancy Huni. They think he's capable enough to upset this, and so Wardley's got to be careful on the night. He's got to make sure he's on it.
Mm-hmm.
These replacements, albeit not as last minute as Andy Ruiz was for Anthony Joshua, he's had a fair bit of time to prepare for Huni. I can still see Fabio Wardley getting through it, but obviously it's going to be a fight, and it's a good show. And again, another stadium show, which shows you, as we've been saying for a long time, and a few people have been doubting, boxing's certainly not dead by any means.
No, it's thriving. It's the best. It's in the best place it has been for a number of years. Look, Paul, I'm going to let you shoot. I appreciate you jumping on and
Thanks,
giving us
Matt.
some of your time. We'll catch up soon. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. All the best.